Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to another episode of the Talking in Circles podcast. I am your host, Fumi Richards. Hello. Of course. You've missed me. I've missed you as well. It's been a long, mighty minute, but I'm just glad to be here. Mind you, we interrupt the Financial Woman series to bring you something I feel is very relevant and timely for a lot of people right now. Yes. So, today's topic is financial anxiety. Have you been in that state of financial distress? Maybe not even like financial distress in that context as to like, oh, okay, you have debt or other things and you just don't see where your money is going. Or have you been in that state where you know you're exhibiting signs of anxiety and you know that this anxiety is just plainly focused on your finances? Well, get your earphones, AirPods, or whatever you're using to listen to this podcast today. Get something and tune in because it's going to be a lovely ride and very educative, and of course always an opportunity to flex our muscles and show what we know. Anyway, I would like to say again, you're welcome to another episode of the Talking in Circles podcast, and today we're walking along the hill of financial anxiety. Without further ado, let's get to it. So, financial anxiety. Well, let's start with a proper definition of what financial anxiety is. So, we know generally everyone, or at least everyone I know, worries about their finances in one way or the other. And but financial anxiety is an obsessive fear of things particularly related to money that can often be scary or limiting. This anxiety can be triggered by a varied number of things, not just like, lack of money. I mean, Jeff Bezos could as well be on that same boat, or people like Elon Musk, or a whole lot of people. And it's not necessarily that you do not have money. Sometimes you do have the money, you know you're good for it. Like if you wanted to take a loan, a huge chunk of a loan, you know you're good for it when the chips are down. But that anxiety just rears its ugly head, and you just find that you're just feeling so anxious, and it's a very unhealthy habit. So, moving on, there's definitely been a lot of financial anxiety since COVID. In late 2019, early 2020, there's been a lot of financial anxiety, of course, due to the fact that so many people lost their jobs, some businesses plummeted, and there was just a lot of uncertainty during that time. Now, a study by Pew Research shows that 1 in 5 Americans are having a physical reaction to the stress brought on by COVID-19 crisis, including 30% who indicate that they are experiencing a high degree of financial stress. Now let's bring it down to those in Africa. And not just Africa, generally, because I feel like COVID-19 had a lot of impact across the board, across all the continents. And of course, there's after COVID-19 right now. I wouldn't say after, but most of us have gotten a vaccine, so there's this after in mind. But for those who like post, or what do we even call it? Because we're still in the middle of the Ukraine and Russian war, so we can say in the middle of all of that, there's still so much financial anxiety that would result, people will end up feeling it, just like taking people back to the Cold War or like the Depression age and all of those things. So there are a lot of things. So, but again, let's stay on track and let's get right to the gist of it. So what kind of symptoms are there for financial anxiety? How do you identify it? Sometimes it could come off as an opportunity. A person who just overspends, buys trivial things. There's no budget. There's no financial responsibility in that sense. You go to a store. Sometimes you just buy. For those who like junk and binging on junk, would probably just buy a lot of things that you don't really need. And if you've read The Confessions of a Shopaholic, I can't remember who wrote that book, but I think it was Sophie Kinsella, right? I think, yeah. So, you would find that I can't remember the main character, but the main character would end up buying a lot of stuff, would not check her balance or check her credit card, and then over time she accumulated a lot of debt. And when the banks, especially for those who operate credit cards, so she had accumulated a lot of debt with her credit card. She was living above her means. There was a lot of splurging going on in her life, and it was majorly because she didn't want to think or address the elephant in the room, which was she had financial anxiety towards money. So yes, there's that. Another thing is hoarding. Sometimes you just find that you just take comfort in material things. You don't want to give. You don't want to, you're okay with giving your time, but you're not okay with giving people your things, even when you know that you're basically being a dog in a manger concerning a particular thing or a particular item in your house that you know that is of absolutely no use to you. You're just hoarding it unnecessarily. Then there's also the fear of spending. You just realize that you're just so obsessive about saving. Like every minute of the day you have to save. You become, it's not even like, sometimes the irony of that is that while you're being obsessive about saving, you're being a penny wise and a pound foolish. If you know the meaning of that, you will get. So there is that. And of course, there's a place of depression, because when you see anxiety, of course, depression is just around the corner. And I don't think I need to explain that. But sometimes it can also be a resultant effect of the anxiety, and not that it's a symptom. Particularly, it's just a resultant effect of the financial anxiety. So, how do we deal with financial anxiety? I mean, if it's for some of us, especially those of us in our 20s or late teens, or some of us who even had the opportunity to grow that responsibility from a very early age before you even hit your late teens, and you're already worried. Some of us even who are already parents, living our lives with children, you're now basically catering to another human or a couple of humans. Sometimes you find that responsibility can also take its toll on you. So, but how do we deal with it? I mean, it's okay that once you've been able to identify it, I think the core is always identifying it, knowing that this is what it is. That is usually half the problem. Maybe not usually, but at least that is half the problem. The fact that you know that this is an issue, it makes you aware of it, and now you start looking for ways to solve it. Another thing is, once you've identified it, I think the next thing you need to do is to look at your current financial situation, depending on your responsibilities and all of those things, and decide to set a financial goal for yourself. This financial goal might not necessarily be something that is targeted to a particular thing. It could just be towards emergency funds or just saving money. If you're living in Nigeria right now, or you have to deal with the Naira, I would definitely not suggest that you save. I'd rather that you buy dollars or you invest in the US stock market or any other international stock market that you can afford, or else you think of NFTs. One of these days you should have someone here to talk about NFTs, or else you invest in crypto. But there's just Bitcoin. There's just a lot that you could invest in. Like I said, if you're currently living in Nigeria or you have access to Naira, I would suggest, or you just have access to Naira, I would suggest that you do not just save. Or if you're going to save, then you're saving in one of the fintech apps that give you at least 7 to 10%, probably 11 or 12% interest on whatever you save for a particular period. Because at the end of the day, you're not, at this point, you don't want to just save to get back the money you're saving. You want to save so that you can get more money, or let your money work for you. There's also the opportunity to invest in a real estate plan. We might talk about that on another day. I have been browsing through some real estate options, so that might not be a bad idea. So yes, you could do that. Another suggestion on how to get a grip on the financial anxiety you're possibly feeling is creating a budget, a household budget. If you're a family member living with family, if you're just an individual, I would always advise, we've talked about this a couple of times, you probably heard me say it like a broken record, have a budget. Very important. Look through your financial situation, present financial situation, identify where your responsibilities are at, identify what is priority right now, or priority by the month or by the week, depending on how your income or how regular your income is. Then identify what kind of budget you can run. If it's a weekly budget, if it's a monthly budget. If it's a weekly budget, let it be that it's targeted towards building an overall monthly or yearly budget or quarterly budget. That's, you're drawing a budget for a week, and then you know that it's targeted towards an overall arcing idea towards the month or the quarter, or depending on what exactly your goals are. Another suggestion is, if you're probably collected loans, or you've borrowed money from a friend or family member and all of that, I would advise that you work on a financial plan that allows you to pay the money back without causing distress. Sometimes paying the money back is not exactly easy. I, for one, would agree. It's not always easy. It's not very easy at all, because you know that this is the money that's supposed to come in, and when you realize that, when you finish seeing the money coming, you know that like 70% of the money that's coming in has to go for money that you've already used. So it doesn't seem like it's ploughing back. At the same time, the money is coming in, and you just can't really, you already know that of course, we've talked about this again. If you're collecting a loan, collect the loan with your full mind. Let it be that you're doing something tangible. Don't just collect loan to go and buy a phone. Please do not do it. So, those are things that you might need to do. I think another thing is that you should own your financial journey. I've said this again and again. I will still keep saying it on this podcast. But it's very important that you understand that your financial journey is a really personal part. I recently moved to a new place, and it's quite inside of the town. And I remember like the concerns from my family and everything. Oh, this, that. But to be very honest, it was the cheapest I could find for the money I had. And yes, it cost a stir that, I was going to go for that option as opposed to another option. But guy, you are the one who is paying the bills. I am the one who is paying the bills. So I cannot afford to go ahead with another person's option. Similarly, if you're going into a restaurant and you're going with a friend, if your friend wants to order a certain thing and you don't have the money to order for that thing, and your friend is not conscious of the fact that, you don't have that money to order for that particular thing, I think you and a friend need to have a conversation. You don't always have to like put a stamp, I'm owing that, so I can't afford basic living. But at least your closest friends, those ones that you could actually go to, you could go restaurant hopping or sightseeing or art exhibitions or whatever, those friends that you could actually hang out with for long periods of time need to know that you don't have that kind of excessive budget. Even if they know how much you're earning. One of these days we're still going to talk about salary and the myths about those kind of things, but not today. So, but pretty much what we're still saying and what we'll keep saying is own your journey. Be intentional, be mindful about these little things, because financial anxiety, as much as we continue to talk about mental anxiety, mental awareness and all of those things, there isn't much conversation as to financial anxiety. There should be more conversation about it, because at the end of the day, a whole lot of us, at least from my point of view, are in that stage in our lives where we're feeling a lot of anxiety, especially regarding our finances. So it's really good to have that kind of this kind of conversations more and more. So anyway, this has been the Talking in Circles podcast. Before you go, please like, please comment, please don't run away. I'm serious. Like, I'm trying to be as available as I can be with you. Please don't do this. Like, share, subscribe. Just in case you don't know, there's an opportunity to subscribe to the podcast. I will get a notification when you subscribe, just so you know. So please subscribe, please like, please share it with a friend. I really hope that the next episode you probably listen to is going to be from the Financial Woman series. Of course, if you hear this on any platform, on Facebook or any of those other platforms, know that It is on the podcast is available on YouTube. It's available on all podcast streaming platforms. Apple Podcast is available on Google Podcast. It's available on Spotify. So please do not hesitate to subscribe, listen on any of your platforms or any platform you're currently listening to. If you have any issues, you can do some. Spreaker allows you to download. Google Podcast also allows you to download. I'm not really sure about Spotify, but there are opportunities. Please listen. Please please subscribe, please comment. I would like to hear your thoughts. If you're currently dealing with financial anxiety, I would really, really love to hear your thoughts. If you've dealt with it at some point, please come and give us tips. Really important. So anyway, before you allow me to beg further, once again, this has been the Talking in Circles podcast, and I am your host, Fumi Richards.